everyone receives is a reflection of us.
Welcome. You know, I've been contemplating a lot about restructuring of society. Been factoring in how, why. I've been touching on the edges of society and the governance that has been created to rule this world. And ask yourself, how do you demolish a house? Do you change ownership of the house but leave it standing? Do you remove all the furniture on the inside and leave it standing? Do you just look at it and hope that somebody else will do it? Do you remove the foundations but yet you can't see them? Or do you attack the framework? Because if you take the frame away from the house is no longer standing, and then it reveals the foundation. So what am I getting at? Well, I've been touching on the framework of society. Well, at least here in Australia anyway. Because for most of us, we just have that inner knowing that things aren't right. That the way we live is just wrong. There are moments in my life where I know things will just work out. Because I have foresight, I see it, I just know it will, because I believe it does. The simpleness of it. I put up something before about how where complexity lies, criminal behavior breeds existence. And you see, the framework of a lot of things is exactly like that. I've been looking into here in Australia what their budget was last year. You see, the government had about 90 billion dollar budget. And you got to think, with that amount of money, where is it all going? Why are the people still struggling? So we rewrite the framework. Even just small things like registration to drive on the road brings in around about a net worth of $12 billion a year. Maybe more. Maybe that's 12 million a month. Who knows? I'm not here to justify, but what I'm saying is we're paying so much money as the working class of people to this society, but we are not seeing the benefits. So I want to combine all of our bills and our insurances into one easy payment. Maybe 2 or 3 different areas, one for insurances and road users. I want the government to take ownership of this and say, here is one bill for the month. Here's one bill for your amenities, your water, your gas, your electrics, your data. Too many privatizations of things, too many bills and too many mortgages and loans and all of this sort of stuff. And it doesn't really equate to anything apart from the stress of everyday life. I also looked into how to reduce it, about reducing the price of everything, but yet keeping wages the same. What does that do to a country that shuts itself off? These types of things are complex and boring for the very fact that they don't bring excitement to the public. This was the form of entertainment. Why they make people entertained with television, because the boring stuff that actually runs the economy, runs the country, becomes something that nobody wants to hear because it doesn't tickle their tonsils, doesn't float their boat, if you know what I mean. So they do it on purpose. But here in Australia, we could earn so much more if they just taxed the oil and gas companies. But they don't. They have so much collusion and outer workings and dealings with these companies that it only makes the top wealthier. But the people suffer. So, I'm always an advocate for reducing things, making people pay less. Why? Because then they're more happier. And happier people pay more, they spend more, they circulate their money through the economy. It's easier to live because shopping is now no longer expensive. Everything is justified. People get paid their worth, but we're able to spend and afford the things that we desire. It isn't a false sense of depravity or scarcity. It is what it is. It's always abundant. These are some hard dealings to rewrite, but necessary nonetheless. So then I looked into a fave here in Perth. It's called Lottery West. It's the lottery system. Now, this company does really well with its grants to help local communities and thriving populations. This is a $1 billion making industry per year. So I question that. And I talk with people and I say, why can't these lottery companies who are making billions of dollars per year, why can't they every month or every 2 months have a $100, $200 million raffle where you enter the raffle, they pull a name out of the hat, and that person receives $2 million. And they do this every so often. There's nothing stopping that. They have the money, they have the wealth to do it. They have $100 million and they give it to 50 people. They're still in profit for their year. Rather than providing grants to local communities or local governments which can then misuse the funds, they are giving it direct to source. These people then spend in the community, buy houses, buy a estate, and generate that wealth internally. These companies have monopoly over the state of gambling and raffling and lotteries. No other company can compete. So I asked myself, and I said, we have hotels and we have Airbnb. We have rideshare versus taxis. We have so many other competitive markets, except when it comes to gambling or lotteries. There are laws against it. Here in Australia, there is a law against raffles. You must have a license to have a raffle. And yet that raffle, you cannot make more than what the product is worth. Or you can, if you do, it has to be donated to a charity, which is all government funded, of course. They place limits on people making money, people being wealthy, unless it's through their own control. And yes, they throw it under the disguise of responsible service of gambling. They don't want people addicted. But yet, it's okay if you run through their establishment, because they have the control measures. So I thought, okay, they can, but they choose not to, because they would rather do it through a controlled release strip. Because they want, for a better word, slow wins. They don't want heavy wins. They don't want big winners now. They want small, slow trickles, because they can manage it. They can control the outcomes. So this illusion of luck may or may not be true. Is it random? Perhaps, but we'll never know, because they are the monopoly. So, what then is stopping me and my 5 million friends from having our own raffle inside our house? I have a land that can occupy 5 million people. We all decide to put in $1 every month. And in that month, we pull a winner. And that winner receives $1 million or two. The rest rolls over to the next month. And then the proceeds go towards community and farming and generational. Goes to costs of building societies and businesses and corporations. We build our own community through it. What's stopping that? A fancy piece of paper that says it's illegal. But why? It's not doing any harm. It's only costing everyone $1 a month. And someone wins a property, wins a house, wins $1 million, and in the end of the day they still thrive. And all the other proceeds go back into the community anyway. I don't see any harm in that, so why is it illegal? Because it provides too much hope to the people that they might win. We can't have that. We can't have people being hopeful. You see how it starts to get confrontational? The level of monopoly and control they have over people being wealthy. Why is that? Because wealthy people, happy people, people who don't rely on the corporations and the governments and the businesses and the systems and the architecture they have created are dangerous people. Because when you no longer have to rely on the system, it scares them. So they place control measures so you cannot leave. You have to use their measures. But things like rideshare and this, it's expansive, it grows, it doesn't provide any competition to them because it's a service. But this is money. Money buys things, provides food, housing, healthcare, all of the things that governments control. So it's illegal. But why don't we do it anyway? Why don't we just not care about what they do? Because probably all of the stuff they've written down anyway is illegal. It's probably not even law. It's just in a piece of paper that we have been structured and guided to follow, and we do so because that's what we've been told. It's probably not even allowed. But over the generations, we have been manipulated to believe that it is factual. I'm not saying it is or it isn't, I'm just saying. So, me and my 5 million friends decide to ignore it. What are they going to do? How do they even know it's going to happen? No one does. It's just a thriving community that works within itself. Unless somebody says something, no one's ever going to know because it's all handled internally. If they're checking your bank accounts and they wonder where your money's coming from, then at least you know they are watching you. And they are committing something that they're not allowed to do. If they come and do their checks and they wonder why is this happening, then again, they are doing against their own purpose. They are spying on their own citizens, making sure you comply to their irregular laws. The more and more you start to attack the framework of society and governance, the more you start to see it is not to benefit humanity. It is to keep us trapped within their cycle. So, 5 million people decide to ignore it and continue. What are they going to do? Get fined? Lose a license they never had? What is this fine going to be? How much is it? What if no one decides to pay it? Do you charge one person or do you charge everyone? These are the things that make the biggest difference. Do they threaten you with jail time? Well, 5 million people, that's a lot of jail time. But what if no one decides to pay? No one decides to go to jail? What if the entire country decides not to pay? And formulates their own governance inside the system. This is what they're afraid of. A self-sustaining population who does not need the government, who does not need their control measures or their system or their ways of finance. That's what they're afraid of. And these pieces of papers with subsections and laws on them that dictate our communities, is just that, paper. And they've placed fear upon that paper. We feel the laws inside ourselves. You don't feel the law because someone shows you a piece of paper with it written on that they themselves don't agree to or follow. Do as I say, not as I do type mentality. So if someone charges 10, 20, 30 million people with a fine and no one pays it, then what? They've got an outstanding fine for doing nothing wrong. So then they take them to court. They have 30 million people who need to go to court. We see 30 million people versus how many? 5, 10, 20. These are all those things. And why don't people do it more? Because solo or individually, people won't. But as a collective, people will. It's the fear in going against a system and something that they've set up that they're willing not to lose. 10-10. This is the problem. This is what they've worked so hard to achieve, these securities, these boundaries, these ways of life that we believe to be true but are not. Population and people have a way of self-governing, self-sustaining, and rebuilding community with ourselves, where we can overpower government. We can overpower them with money, not force or violence. And that is what is their most biggest fear, that we no longer need them. So it is with that, I leave you with peace and love and a plane out of here. Take care.